this is give you a supplemental video that you're going to be able to use for this construction math unit. This will tie in with a little project that's at the end of section 1 that we will work on in class, but it ties in even greater to an end-of-unit project that we're going to do. It's going to be a group assignment where you're going to have a pretty good sized building, a little bit bigger than what this one here that they give in the textbook. And with that, you're going to figure out the total perimeter of the building and then determine what are the linear requirements and the amount of blocks you would need, concrete blocks, standard concrete blocks, to build a 2-foot high or a 24-inch footer wall around that whole perimeter. All right, so this will be so that you can have continuous reference to it to go back and make sure that you are ready for that project. Now, the book is going to give this to you with some missing walls. What I'm doing here is this is supplemental to follow up. We will go over how to fill in those dimensions, right, along the way. What I'm doing now is supplemental to help you go through that process. So we have already found the missing dimensions here, and they are completely filled in. But what we have to do now is determine what is the total linear perimeter footage of this building. The way we're going to do that is we're going to add together each of the dimensions that we have listed, and then we'll double check it by going back around. All right? And every once in a while, I'll mess up on the first time through and then going back through. So for the first time, I want to start here. And it's a good practice that I like to do is I make a little mark, normally not this big, but for your purposes, we're going to make that mark big enough. And then I will go in one direction around that perimeter. And then I will come back and double check it and go the other direction. And it will not be uncommon for me to measure at least 3 times, really. So let's take a look here. So we've got 46 feet. Remember, when you've got a single mark with the number in a construction setting, that means that is footage or stands for feet. And as we've got over here on the concrete block, the 2 marks there, that stands for inches. Same thing here. 2 marks with 24 inches or 2 feet. Okay? So just remember that. So let's go around the perimeter here. We've got 46 feet, all right? 54, 62, 92, 100, all right? So I'll make a little note there in case I lose my spot. That was 100 coming this way. 110, 130, 140, 148, 58, 66, 76, and 86. So we're up to 186. 186 coming that way, and then we're going to add 38 to it, which would be 224. And let's write that number down. We don't need those check marks anymore. Anytime you're adding a bunch of dimensions though, and especially on that project, I would highly suggest when we get to the end of the unit, because there's even going to be more walls on that one, that you make some marks at certain points as you're doing that, so that you know it. And then if you miss a spot or you get a little, get yourself off, you can go back to that reference point and go back from there. So let's go back this way, just so we're double checking, all right? 38, 48, 58, 66, 76, 84, 94, 114, 124, 132, 162, 170, 178, and then 178 plus 46 will then give us again 224 feet. So we know that that's our perimeter. So our perimeter footage is 224 feet. Now, what you're going to be doing for the project is taking that footage and then you're going to convert that over to figure out how many concrete blocks that you're going to need, okay? So what would we do? How do we convert feet? How do we convert footage or feet to inches? We multiply by 12, right? And we've gone over this in class already. So we'll just do that, and I'm going to actually write it out here. So we're going to convert that 224 feet to inches. So we'll multiply the feet times 12, because there's 12 inches in a foot. All right, so 224 times 2 is 448, and then 224, 8, 862. So we've got 2,688 inches. Again, when you're doing that project, and as you're prepping for it, making sure you're ready for that, I highly suggest writing that footage in the middle once you find it. Once you convert that over to inches, I would also write that in there. That way, as you're going forward, you're adding the dimensions that you're figuring out to it as you go along, okay? Let's erase what we did here. Now, we now know that we've got 2,688 inches of perimeter distance around this building that we're going to have to be laying concrete blocks. Our dimensions for our concrete block, standard 16 inches long, 8 inches wide, 8 inches high, okay? So to find out how many concrete blocks we need to do one course around this building, we would do what? We would divide the total inches by the length of one block, which is 16. So we would do 16 into 2688. All right? That's going to give us that's going to be 6. I hope that's right because I'm doing that in my head. And then 128 is going to be, what's that going to give us, 7? Let's try 8. 6 times 8 times 8, 12. All right. So we now know that we've got 168 concrete blocks for one course. Now, in this situation here, and let's write that over here, 168 blocks per course. All right? That takes care of one course, but remember I gave you, or the book in this case gives you that we're wanting a 2-foot footer wall, which is 24 inches. Now what is the height of the blocks? 8 inches high. So each time you do a course, you're going up 8 inches. If you want a 24-inch footer wall, and each block course is going to be 8 inches high, that means you're going to need 3 courses, correct? So we would take the 168 that it takes to do one course, and then we'll multiply that times 3. Okay, and then 3 times 8 is 4, would you 2, 18 and 20, 504. So we now know that total blocks. Okay? Now, that works, do it that way. So you're multiplying by 12. You multiply the total footage by 16, and then you divide it by 12, okay? Now, remember what I told you, you can do the shortcut method. If you multiply times 16, I got it backwards. I'm about to mess up. You multiply by 12 to find your total inches, and then you divide it by 16 blocks, right? Or by 16 inches per block. So the first step we did was we took our footage and multiplied it times 12, then we divided it by 16, which is the same thing we got here. So that shortcut that you could use, remember, is you could have taken that footage first, 224, times, what is 12/16 reduced to? 3/4, right? 3/4, or 0.75, okay? And then 224 times 3/4. Let me try to do that for you real quick. 4 goes into 22 5 times, and then 24, so it would be 56 times 3. And 56 times 3 would be 168, which tells you what we found out earlier after we did the double step. So you can use that 0.75 adjustment factor, right? Especially if that last project is big, and it could come out to where your dimensions come out with something like 495 or 700 feet and 9 inches, right? In that case, you may even be better off doing that straight adjustment factor of 0.75 once you find your total perimeter footage, all right? So this is a little reference you can go back so you can make sure you've got all those steps. Hopefully this will help you as you're preparing for that project.